there. Followed by
What?
Matthew dying.
Are we starting there?
Yeah.
Oh, God's sake. Anyway, hello and welcome back to Mayster Reviews. Today is the Chapter 1 finale. I've already explained where the Mayster rankings of 2023 is going to come in Chapter 2. This is the last Mayster review video you can expect from this chapter, yeah, and it is the Mayster rankings of 2022. 118 films have led to this point, and now there have been changes. I think I've specified some rankings in a monthly basis before. There have been changes, and I did my final pass over them after saying I want to dance with somebody last night. I took my final pass on them very late last night, so I might not have been at my best self, but these rankings will be final forever. Even if I change my mind on them later, XYZ film will always be known as the 68th ranked on the Mayster rankings of 2022. That will be final forever. So we're not going to be here for hours. We're just going to quickly pass over them and explain very briefly why I had the film in that particular position, and on top of that, why it beat the one below it possibly as well.
So, which I disapprove of.
Yes.
Yes. Dominion.
Yes. I'm on Dan's just downloaded Letterboxd. He's been a massive darling in this for us.
Do you just call me darling?
Yes, I did.
Ugh. Don't call me that.
Don't worry, darling.
That's cringe.
If that should give you any hint as to which way this is going to go, whatever. Anyway, 118.
That's the one, you don't need to keep score.
118. Studio 666.
I'm gonna enjoy this.
Yeah. What can I say? I think I said everything I needed to say back in my January to April 2022 review batch. I think I said everything I needed to say about that one basically, and I think we'll pretty much just leave it there. Terrible humour, appalling dialogue, a decent opening sequence, and quite frankly, unwatchable.
Didn't we get told that apparently it was like a bit screenwritten by the Foo Fighters or something, which might explain why it's so
Yeah, that would not surprise me in the slightest. No, that I honestly, if professional screenwriters made this piece of shite, they ought to be burned at the stake. I'm sorry, right?
I was gonna say, I think
there is no.
I genuinely think from the way you described it, I think I've written better stuff than this for the screen.
No, that's impossible. Right? That's 117. The Bob's Burgers movie. Yeah, decent musical numbers that were quite sweet. Apart from that, yes, again, I did not appreciate the humour and was once again quite unwatchable. This is all off memory, by the way. I've not rewatched many of these at all, and only 13 of which Dan has seen.
Yeah, with 118, I've only seen like barely more than 10%. So.
Yeah, so
I think I was going to say for the Bob's Burgers movie, I have, because you know how you said you've never seen it, I have actually watched. It was years ago now, but I did actually watch a fair few episodes of it, so maybe if I watched it I might understand it a bit better. But
yeah, it was a bit poor. Now, 116, Umar. I went with Evie to go see this at the Sunderland Empire cinema, and yes, this was terrible. The only thing that was pleasurable about this was the box experience, the VIP that I was in. It was the only thing that was pleasurable about it. I mean, absolutely chowing down on M&Ms while I was watching this shite unfold. I'm not joking. You don't get much worse than this. It was everything that's wrong about modern horror. Jump scares galore, a convoluted plot.
With the badly done jump scares as well.
Yeah, and overall, a very uninvesting film that was just the definition of shite modern horror. There's not really much I can say really, but that's pretty much where I was left at with this.
Like, no good plot.
Not really, no. Number 115, a recent one, The Eternal Daughter. Now, this is a recent one, so I will not go into much detail with this, but yes, I thought it was completely and utterly
abysmal.
Abysmal and boring. Completely boring. I understood where the filmmakers were trying to go with this, Joanna Hogg, I think, is the director, which I think is quite ironic, and I must not like her films, considering The Souvenir Part 2 is not that far above this.
Was that another film?
Yeah, I only realised this. Joanna Hogg directed both of them, and they're both very, very low.
Joanna Hogg is coming for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I just must not really be a big fan of her style. But yeah, moving upwards to 114. Armageddon Time. Again, incredibly boring. Same thing as Licorice Pizza. Didn't have much of a plot. It was far more character focused and based around that. And Anthony Hopkins was really the only highlight. I thought it was very, very unfocused apart from that. Moving upwards towards 113, Red Rocket. Now, from this point forward, I don't think the films are objectively bad. I just think that there's just ones that are better. Red Rocket is basically about an aging male porn star in America, and he's it did its job. It did its job. It was funny in parts, but it was genuinely exactly what it was. I'm noticing a fair amount of A24 littered around this whole ranking system, and these ones like Eternal Door are more towards the bottom. They just don't really have a point. The Red Rocket one, it was good, very graphic, as you'd expect, but yeah, it did the job. It was just an okay time, and it was enjoyable, and that's about it. There was nothing really more to say apart from that. What did have something to say was 112, Strange World. Now, I'll say the positive first. What it did have going for it was, well, now I'll say the spoiler, is the whole world is this whole creature. As in, all them little beetle bugs flying through the sky are the blood vessels of this creature.
Oh.
The entire Strange World is the bodily ecosystem of this inside this creature.
That inside the creature?
Yes.
And is that a big one?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like the size of a planet. And their entire village is on top of the shell. There are villages on top of the shell with the mountains.
Oh.
So when they dig down into this hole, it's actually a wound in the creature. So, well, I think that's how it seemed to me anyway. And they're actually inside it, and that's what the Strange World is. That commentary on sort of life and a little touch into environmentalism, that was good. And it was a well-realised plot twist that was actually really neat. But what can I say? For Walt Disney Studios, the film is garbage. There's
like, it's in just even.
Oh my god, there's so much more they could have done.
Like, just bad overall.
This was just completely. This was the definition this year of phoned in by a major studio. This was literally, all right, let's just chuck the merchandise out for the kids, and there you go, it's done. They're all gonna fall in love with Splat.
Who the hell is Splat?
The big old look at Splat.
I forgot that thing even existed.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
And I've seen the trailer.
Seeing that though, he was cute. He's a good character, but it's like, how do we take this drawing in Phil's office and make an entire movie out of it for merchandise? Like, you just no, it doesn't work like that. It was poor. In every sense of the word. Next, coming up on 111, sorry Joanna Hogg, it's the Souvenir Part 2. I haven't seen Part 1, but again...
Which is why I didn't understand it.
No. This is why Dan gets annoyed with me, right? I don't feel you should have to do homework for films.
You should.
You shouldn't. No. You shouldn't.
Watch a good... Well, you're not going to enjoy the 40k film then, are you?
No.
Well, you're probably going to anyway, but...
No. You shouldn't have to do homework. You're paying money to get entertained on a Friday night. You shouldn't have to do homework for it. So I think I was a bit lost because of that. But at the same time, it was very abstract, which again, it just wasn't for me. But what I do appreciate, what puts it higher than the rest of them below it, is the fact how it's very big on sort of the independent filmmaking industry of the UK. And it's so honed in on that. I did appreciate it in the workings of it, and sort of its commentary on the business of cinema in the UK. I did like that, I did. But coming up from that in 110, we had Tad the Lost Explorer and The Curse of the Mummy.
Curse of the Money. I want the curse
Mummy.
I want the Curse of the Money.
The Mummy. The Curse of the Money. That's called communism, Dan.
Oh, I thought it was like super capitalism. Wait, what the fuck is super capitalism?
Super capitalism.
I think I mean like
He's just coined a new financial term, everybody. He's called it super capitalism. What exactly that? Is
you use your money to get more money and then more money and then more money, and basically being victorious at original capitalism is super capitalism. That's going to be a network memory, isn't it?
No, it isn't. No, it's not worth network memories. This is not worth your time. A good kids film overall. I said my thoughts about it earlier, but now moving on to 109. Minions: The Rise of Gru. Yeah, it was a fun time, and that's just about it. I love the Minions. It was a fun time.
Did you go in the suit?
No, I didn't go in a suit actually. Basically, there's a trend when this film came out of everyone going to see it in suits.
I think everyone knows what the trend is.
Yeah, well, some people might not, so that's why I'm giving them context. But up from that, surprisingly on how much I hated it, in 108 we have Licorice Pizza.
Which I'm disgusted that you put Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Yeah, I've said this many times before. The thing that made this go ahead is I think its characters are very charming and well developed, and I think that's what puts it ahead.
What about talking about charming and well developed characters? Minions: The Rise of Gru. The characters.
Are you expecting me to do a video essay on how Bob is well developed? Like, is it real? I don't understand. I really don't get where you're going with this. Anyway, 107, The Invitation. It was just a bit shit, really. It was just a bit shit. It was a bit slow paced. It had good elements to it. It was a good sort of welcome to the family kind of film. And then when it all went into its vampire whirlwind, whatever the hell that was, it just completely lost its way. But I think the way it was structured with, I think it just inches its head away from Licorice Pizza.
But bad overall.
A tiny bit, but poor overall. Sing 2 in 106 was not poor. I don't think that. I think I just think that it was other ones I liked more. It had a heartwarming ending, as I said in my initial review. And yeah, it was a fun time. Illumination did well on this one, as I'm sure they definitely will next April. Please.
What's next April?
105, The Lost City. It's passable. The performances are funny. Decent all around the board, really. Daniel Radcliffe did not do his best, and it was just a little poor, really. It was like a worse version of Ticket to Paradise, really. It was The Lost City.
Oh, right.
I didn't. Oh, and just swipe along, can't I didn't expect it to be amazing, and it just wasn't. Then moving up into 104.
It's
Morbius. It's Morbin time. I honestly do feel the fight scenes, especially in the third act, were very entertaining, and I did enjoy the fight scenes in this film. I thought the action was great. The rest of it, though, it was a decent origin story, but it was just, again, it was just so mediocre for a superhero film.
Did he morb?
He morbed.
Did he morb?
He morbed hard, yes.
Okay, at least he morbed.
Yes. Then 103, the Nan movie. A funny time with actually some heartwarming parts in it, as I said again in my initial review. But yeah, it does the job. It wasn't absolutely belly busting laughter. It was just it was passable. 102, The Lost King. This dragged, and I do mean that it had some parts where the injustice of the character in real life, obviously, evidently.
The king or
the Lost King, the woman who found his body.
Oh, right.
That the injustice for that character, you really feel it as an audience, but how it took to get to those beats, it just took too long. It took way too long, and it outstayed its welcome massively.
Was it like bad overall, or just like?
It was okay. You've then got Clerks 3 in 101, which I thought initially in the first 20 minutes was going to be one of the worst of the year. But it definitely did redeem itself. It's, again, very heartwarming in parts, and I understood why this franchise means a lot to so many people. So now...
Oh wait, is it? Sorry, I was about to pull your like rule, your rule. But is it one that where like if I haven't seen the previous ones, I could watch it easily when you see it?
Yeah, but it's the same as Bob's Burgers where I just didn't get the humour. I didn't get the humour.
Right.
And then I really understood why it meant so much to people towards the end.
Right.
So we are finally here out of the drag of those bottom 18. So now we are into the top 100 and we'll do this in tens. So 100, we have Ali and Ava, a nice British film. We're now going to go more quickfire. So nice British film that was about just sort of working class romance, which I thought was great and it was nice. Submarine, again, I had moral issues with that film, and I think there's definitely more that can be improved, but a nice symmetry with the Earth to Echo plot that I think was executed quite well. 98, we have Uncharted. Good action here and there, actually really good action in parts, but overall, I'm sorry.
Tom Holland doesn't fit, does he?
No, not at all. He is not Nathan Drake. I've never played one of the games in full, and even I know he's not Nathan Drake.
Yeah, he does not look
He's
like him.
not Nathan Drake, and it's a crime that it was initially going to be Mark Wahlberg, and he's still in the film, but he's Sully instead.
Yeah,
He
looks like him.
Exactly. You don't have Mark Wahlberg in an Uncharted film and not have him as Nathan Drake. It's not how this works. You don't. You have him.
Relax. We know good casting. We do it.
I nearly call him Jake Sully.
That's Jake.
I nearly called him Jake Sully. Yeah, that's maybe I even did. I can't remember. 97. We have the 355. Now this film, yeah, it was a good action flick, all female action flick with again good action sequences across the board. But again, it was mediocre in that it was definitely a popcorn flick.
Right.
You'll find, I think there's a lot of popcorn flicks around this area of the list and probably higher up unless they are brilliant. I think the best popcorn flick of the year, if I remember rightly, I put as Violent Night. I think that's amazing film. That's just stupid fun. That's
yeah. My review I've already done. Obviously.
But this stop plugging yourself. Oh. There was up to 96. From that anyway, from the 355, we have Pray for the Devil. This was mediocre horror at its best, as in it was literally it was the most flash in the pan horror film this year by a mile. As in it did its job great, and I think it's Catholicism themes around sort of, the devil and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think it was handled pretty well, and that's what boosts it much higher here. After Sun was again very vague. Some people will have this towards the top of their list altogether, but I just thought it was really vague. But some great character development between Paul Mescal and the young actress who plays his daughter. Very, very well developed characters and a very emotional story because of that. Jockey, we have in 94, a good story about an aging jockey. And we understand the age range of men in the business who are doing it and everything like that, and it's about fatherhood as well, and it's a good thing overall. Bros in 93, I'm surprised it's this high. I didn't find it particularly funny.
I'm sure the director will be thankful for you saying that.
Yeah, but the grounds of which it covers for being how it was advertised, the first mainstream big studio gay rom-com. I think that for the ground it does cover, Billy Eichner did a passable job with some genuinely heartfelt scenes here and there. But overall, I just don't think it stuck the landing at the level of some of the other ones do.
So like mid.
Yeah. 92, now this breaks my heart, this one. This absolutely breaks my heart. In 92, we have Lightyear.
You made it very clear it was that broke your heart.
Yeah, this could have been so much more. I cannot stress enough, there are two films this year that could have been absolutely stellar. This is one of them.
This Other Strange World.
No, the other's Multiverse Madness.
Oh.
This one, what we want is the first 20 minutes of Toy Story 2 for 2 hours. That is what we want. We don't want this Christopher Nolan, which is good touch, by the way. I liked it in the trailer. But we don't want this like interstellar space adventure about a spaceman for Pixar. It was a great Pixar film and not a good Buzz Lightyear film. I said that in my initial review, and I think it's and it falls short because of that. And speaking of which, falling short in its own genre and what it's supposed to be. Number 91, we have Black Adam. This film I enjoyed. I've got to tell you, I enjoyed it. But again, it's just very mediocre and simple in this superhero space. If someone said to me, what's a superhero genre like? This is the film I would show them. it's like, it's just mid. It's the definition of superhero mid. There's but it's better than Morbius. In 90, it's been bumped up a couple of places, I have to say, because I have come around to it quite a bit, and it has definitely became passable from my initial Mayster reaction to it, to its trailer. In number 90, we have Lyle Crocodile. This film, I gotta tell you, the songs, especially Take a Look at Us Now and Top of the World.
Mate, I was with you. I agree. I mean, I can talk about this one a little bit, but
Yes, I think we both really enjoyed it.
it's one of the only 13 films I've seen this year.
Yeah, I did, honestly. And the thing is as well, this is what's so ironic, and I don't think I discussed this in my initial review. You came on the novelty that you thought we were going to come and have a laugh our heads off at as such a shit time.
No, I remember when I was with my granddad in the car when I was coming to meet you, I said, I literally said to him, we're actually going to really enjoy this thing, or we're just going to laugh at how bad it is. That was like
I invited you because that's what I thought we were going to do. I thought we were going to laugh at it. I thought we were actually going to laugh at how bad it was.
But it was actually half decent.
No, it was half decent with some great musical numbers, but over again, the glue's a bit weak. That sticks the whole thing together in between the songs. And Shawn Mendes, I think we can all agree, is miscast. I think you need to move along a bit more for that, yeah.
As I said, it was in...
much more.
As I said, Drew Mind, it's an enthusiastic 5 rather than like a depressing 1 for me, if that makes sense. Like, I was glad to give it a higher rating.
Yeah. So now we are here into the 90 to 80 range. We have The Railway Children return in 89. I said an incredibly emotional opening sequence, but with some glaring issues, which you can check out my review with that. I'm not going to go into them here, but some glaring issues. Mate, you're a network member, mate. Of all people, you can go and watch me review. We don't have the time for this. Okay. Because I go full on in them. But I've got some glaring issues with them, and but a genuinely good opening sequence and a solid time overall. It did put it higher than Lyle. Higher than that is India Sweets and Spices, a funny sort of Indian comedy with slight undertones of feminism here and there with backstory and things like that. And it was a good time overall. But again, it was quite in the medium range, as you see, noticing a trend in this area. Speaking of which, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. This does outstay its welcome. A lovely time with a great character that is very well developed, and probably because of the novel. But because it is a novel, it does, like I've just said before, yes, it does. It runs like one, and they don't exactly know what it cut out in parts. Yeah. And I do think they could have trimmed a bit off this. Right, moving on to 86, we have A Love Song, a very recent review of mine, very recent review of mine. I think it was only about 4 reviews ago. And that was it's essentially it's themes of memory and aging and almost a slight tale of existentialism. It ties very much so to the film we've just wrapped. For Videoland Studios, it's very similar in that way. That I think there's only about 2 or 3 films that are very similar to ours, and that is one of them. And it's good in the sense that you really get to know this one character as they are alone, and all the emphasis is on them, and we really feel for them, and it's an incredibly well acted performance piece. Moving on to Nocebo, if that's my last chance to say that right, in 85, I still haven't googled that to see it. But yes, that's it about human guilt as well, and that those undertones were a bit stronger than the ones, and so the isolation of A Love Song. I think the ending of Nocebo made that film slightly stronger. And The Infernal Machine as well was in 84, is a stronger piece overall, because yeah, again, that same idea of focusing in on a character with a love song, focusing in on a character solely and seeing their journey, but that had more twists and turns, and it was more really sort of invested at times, and a pleasure to watch and to see how it all unfolded. Some people will massively agree disagree with me on this one, but Bones and All comes in 83. I know who I'm talking to here. The Bones and All, again, I said I thought it made cannibalism watchable.
Don't mind me.
It made it passable on screen, and it was a good film because of that. Again, I'm not going to go into it much because I've said it all before. But moving up to 82, we have Downton Abbey, A New Era.
Which you went to see after our time at Nando's.
Yes, this film, it was, I'm not going to lie to you, it was quite funny. It was quite funny with a very emotional ending. Yeah, spoiler alert. You know what? Yeah, like spoiler alerts for this. Like apart from if they come out this month, just it doesn't. I don't care. People should have seen them by this point. Yeah, Maggie Smith dies. A character finally gets. A character finally gets killed off in this franchise, and
how does should like?
I think just old age.
Oh.
If I remember rightly, just or some kind of illness, and it's in bed, and it's just incredibly upsetting that those ending sequences and a very very heartfelt, and that is a memory that's seed into my head that made this film go much higher.
Right.
Now this is a very interesting one in 81. We have Confess Fletch, and since last night I think this is the one that got bumped up the most places. There's two films that changed around the most. It's this and then one that's about 10 places above this. This one went up and the other one came down significantly. Confess Fletch, it's just because of how funny it is. It might actually be, I'm not joking, it might actually be the funniest film of the year. And it might actually be the funniest film of the year. We were absolutely crying in the review screening. And honestly, it was a bit of a poor film overall, but it just how funny it was. It elevated it up massively. So yeah, the humour was
good
well
or not?
executed.
I can never.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It was passive. For a film, it was okay, but it was just so funny, and that's what elevates us up massively. So now we have an 80. We have Fisherman Friends, One and All, a film that's again that's really funny as well, and a more emotional in places. A better film overall than Fletch. We have Secrets of Dumbledore, lower than I was expecting, 79. But yeah, again, at least it's higher than the likes of Black Adam and Lightyear, and it's okay. With the Wisdom World, it's an okay thing. And I've said it before that I feel like for this script in particular, Mickelson does a better job than Johnny Depp probably could have done with that script in particular, though we didn't really see him get to give a good crack at it. Marry Me is in 78. From what I remember, it was a decent rom-com, but I think Ticket to Paradise takes the throne this year for that. But it was a good time for a Valentine's Day movie. It was very very sweet. 77, Hatching, the themes of motherhood and the ideas of the strict pairing lineage being, and the egg and the creature being a metaphor for that, and that becoming something monstrous and a twin of ourselves. Because of that behaviour. It was quite an abstract film, but its metaphor was so strong, well realised, that it makes its way up here. In 76, which Dan very much disagrees with, we have Jurassic World Dominion.
Because you're an idiot?
No, I'm not an idiot. I just think the third act is incredibly strong.
It's not.
It is.
I don't remember this whole film.
Yeah.
And I watched it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is as low down as it is because I don't remember the first 2/3 either. What I do remember is the third act. Which had all of its scenes in sequences, almost like short contained horror films.
It was way too long. They lied about the plot. It was the same over again. The film count as 5 films.
The Locust shite, yes, that
the
was
Locust
bad.
crap. It's the same formula as 5 previous films. They had a chance to do something different and they failed. Okay? I'm sorry, but I just... It's bad, okay? It's bad.
Can you tell that he's a bit annoyed?
I'm sorry, I don't like stupid people.
You should wake up in the morning, stand in front of the mirror and say that to yourself. Okay.
Thank you.
Number 75. We're now into the basically the
good ones.
They're getting better. Yeah, we have Thor: Love and Thunder. This could have been much more. This could have been much more.
Yeah.
And I feel as if
I don't remember much of it, if I'm being honest. It couldn't take itself seriously.
Exactly, that was it. It was just too silly.
Like
it was far too silly. It was completely it's what happens when you let YTP completely take the reins.
I remember because I'm guessing I'm allowed to say it. I remember talking to Cameron a while back about it, and I said to him if I was to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. He actually said to us not long after, he said, Dan, I'm not going to lie, when I was with you after seeing that film, it was about a 2 out of 10 for him, and he said if we weren't there with him, he actually would have walked out. He genuinely said that to us.
Yeah. There was parts that really weren't good, and rewatching it recently, I think the Jane parts are handled quite well. Let's say goodbye to that character.
Yeah.
But apart from that, no, I don't think it works. Now, this is the biggest change on this one. Moonfall has dropped significantly because I just think it's very bland. I thought it was a lot more of a chewy piece of meat than initially what I thought it was, but no, it is just bland. The visual effects does not compensate for a very bland apocalypse film, which realistically the same director did already with Independence Day Resurgence. He already did it. It's already been done, and it was just this year's version of that. I feel like there's one of these films every year, and because of that I dropped an enormous amount of places, because my final verdict of it is quite mediocre. In 73 we have Men. It's abstract nature, drags it down a bit, but its horror elements are incredibly strong when it does about its stalker sort of it's stalker cinematography in a way, that it's handled outside of the windows in the house and sort of shots inside the house. That's handled incredibly well, but a film I will touch on later I think handles it better. In 72 we have 3,000 Years of Longing. Again, I've said it before, I think the storytelling nature and getting your teeth sunk into a good story is really well realised and good, and the character work is great about the tragedy of actually being a genie, but it does lose its way in the second half, I would say, a lot. 71 we have Where the Crawdads Sing. Again, a great story to get invested in, a great character to get invested in, but and as well with a great plot twist at the end. But the fact that she actually did do it, and you have the if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, and it's great overall. But it's essentially, I don't have much of an argument for this one. I just thought the one above it was better, and that is now going into number 70. We have The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Nicolas Cage's film. This is an incredibly fun time. For someone who doesn't know much about Nicolas Cage, I now really like Nicolas Cage, and overall it was very, very strong. Pedro Pascal does a great job, and it was a very fun time, more fun than all the rest of them that I previously said.
Does it have a plot?
It does, but it's more about just there for a fun time, really.
Right.
It is definitely a popcorn movie. 69.
Nice.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I really had a good time with this one.
Was it good?
Yes.
Have you seen the first one?
Yes.
Is it good, both of them?
I swear to God, I think it might actually be better than the first one.
Really?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Knuckles is hilarious. Idris Elba does a fantastic job. And yeah, Jim Carrey's back. It could be his last film apparently. I don't know, but yeah, he does great as well. Supersonic was really cool at the end. And I guess we're going to get Shadow for Sonic 3 if it happens. Supersonic, yes. Do you know when he goes gold?
No. Well, I played Mario a lot more than Sonic.
Yeah, same. But like the Chaos Emeralds, the Emeralds that are basically the Power Stars, but in Sonic.
I don't remember.
He basically,
remember the gold.
Whatever, like when he turns gold and he goes full on Super Saiyan Sonic.
I'll need to look at it. If I see a picture, I might recognize
Yeah.
them.
Well, anyway, 68 we have DC League of Super Pets, a better kids film than Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I was not expecting it to be this way, but it was. It actually turned out to be really decent. I was expecting it to be very poor, and it wasn't. It was actually a really passable time. Going up from there, we have 67, we have She Said, and I've said everything I already need to say about that one. A very tense one for the ride in terms of the Harvey Weinstein case. It was a recent review of mine, and it was overall it was really strong, but not as strong as 66, which is The Bad Guys. I think we're looking now. Just want to double check this. Yeah. Just want to double check. Just give me a second, guys. I apologise. It is. Yes, it is the second best, in my opinion, the second best animated film of the year.
Bad Guys, this is.
Yes, The Bad Guys. Very, very strong. DreamWorks, this is what I want. Okay? This is what I want, DreamWorks. This is when it works. You have Strange World and then you have this. This is you guys doing what you do best.
Or did they also make it?
No, it was DreamWorks.
No, did DreamWorks also make the bad guys?
Yeah, it was DreamWorks who made the bad guys.
Oh. And did they make Strange World?
No, it was Disney.
Oh.
Strange World was Disney. So, the bad guys, this is what I want from you guys, right? Stuff like this. If you'd made this better, like more merchandise potential and better marketed, you could essentially have another massive DreamWorks IP on your hands there. And I'm not sure it'll get a sequel because of it. But yeah, it was good. Do you know what should have been good though, and much higher? Amsterdam in '65. This had the best cast of the year. This should have been an absolute slam dunk, but its execution, though interesting, wasn't as strong as it should have been for the topic matter that it was. It was a fun time watching Christine Bale have fun for 2 hours. But yeah, that was it was a little on the underwhelming side nonetheless.
Right.
In '64 we have Firestarter, a good Stephen King adaptation that had its a good theme of consequence woven throughout. It was definitely a popcorn flick, as I'm pretty sure I said in my initial review, but it is very strong, and I had a pretty exciting third act. '63 we have Emily, quite high up of what I'd expect, and that's because the character, much like Mrs. Harris, is incredibly well thought out. Ironic, because we're talking about an author here, not the character in a novel. Emily Bronte here is very well realised and incredibly well cast as well. Who I only just realised, the actress who I've forgotten the name, the actress who plays Emily Bronte in this film, also stars in Death on the Nile, which is higher up this list, not that much higher, but also stars in Death on the Nile as Jacqueline de Belfort, if I'm saying that correct.
Lock the doors. I'm never going to let you forget that. You shouldn't, I'm never going to let you forget.
'62, we have Call Jane, starring Elizabeth Banks and Sigourney Weaver. This was very good, as I'd say. This is how you do a female-centric, very female-empowered film justice. This is how you do it. You don't make it flashy, you don't make it preachy, you just show it how it is. She Said did this just below this, and this one does it as well. It's a very good film about the early days of illegal abortion clinics and how women had to get by. It's in America. It's a very good story about that, and you really get to know and appreciate what these women are doing, as well as like them as people. It's a very good film. It is. It's very solid. But do you know what is solid? A bit of a poor film, but solidly made. Really solid in its technical competence. Beast, Idris Elba. Some people will hate this one, and I'm telling you, some people will think it will be much further down. But this, no. This thing knew what it was doing. The cinematography in this film is probably the best of the year. It is so well shot. And it's film form elements all coming together, create for a very exhilarating time. It's not the best plot. Idris Elba's American accent is jarring. I was expecting it to be British.
You want to know whose American accent is jarring? Not James Bond, Daniel Craig's American accent is Knives Out.
Which we will
It's
get
jarring.
to later.
It's jarring.
We will
I
get to
can't
that
stand
later.
it.
Number 60, we have Bodies. A great time, which I really enjoyed. Did you see this one?
No, but you
No,
told us
no,
to
you
check them
didn't.
out.
Yeah, this one was a fun murder mystery, I'll be honest with you, a modern one at that, and its twist at the end was so funny and incredibly well done. But better than that was 59's Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, which was a sort of a sex positive, very small focus, a very small location spanning film with just two characters who you really get to know, really appreciate, and it was quite ironic that it was a very elderly audience I was with, a lot of which walked out. I didn't think they realised what they were in for.
Actually walked out halfway through the
Yes.
and didn't come back.
No. Then we have 58, Smile. Some people once again hate this film, but for some reason I just really liked, in a horror standpoint, how it was made, and I think the opening sequence is one of the best of the year. The opening sequence is great.
I thought you said it was bad after that. I thought the opening was brilliant, but it was just mid after I watched the song.
I didn't say it was mid. I said I just thought it's solid. I'd say it's solid across the board, but it's just I think it's nowhere near as good as the opening sequence. The opening sequence is genuinely you could do an essay on it. You genuinely could. 57 we have, in my opinion, the best rom-com of the year. If I've forgotten about one that's coming later, and that's Ticket to Paradise, which you can talk about. I thought it was a very fun time. I thought it was a very, very fun time to get to Paradise.
Yeah, when I took Conrad, he was absolutely dying laughing every 2 seconds next to us.
Yeah, a very fun time, and yeah, I mean, there's not much more to say there to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was funny and whatnot, but
George Clooney and Julia Roberts doing hilarious performance, and they really sell this film. Without them, I don't think this would be off as good.
I don't know, it felt like there was maybe plot-wise to me, like it being something missing, I don't know what exactly, but...
56, we have another controversial choice, Halloween Ends. I actually really like this.
You made it clear.
I actually did. I think they tried something different, and it didn't always hit, but I think trying something different with this franchise in particular, I respected, considering how long it's gone on for. I did respect that. But better than that was Parallel Mothers.
Have you seen any of our previous Halloweens?
I've seen the new ones.
Have you seen the first, like the very first one?
Yes.
Okay, good, because that's the only one I've seen.
55 Parallel Mothers. Again, it does the job. A good foreign language film with very strong undertones of motherhood, which are again great. A sort of a common running theme this year. 54 Silent Twins. I've already raved very, very recently. It was literally like 2-3 reviews ago. I've already raved about Letitia Wright and her counterpart's performances in that. Fantastic. Now this one again breaks my heart. Multiverse of Madness in 53. This could have been something truly special. It really could have been, and it just didn't live up to it. It could have been so good. So good, and it just fell flat on its arse. It was a really fun spanning adventure across the multiverse, and with some really good character development for Steven. But Wanda. Oh,
Bad leaves.
Wanda was the carabiner holding this film together on that rope. It was literally. And that's all it took. If they just handled Wanda better, this whole thing could have just completely been resolved. But no, the handling of that character half ruined it for me.
Right.
52, Orphan First Kill. A fun time, great horror experience with a good third act as well. Solid as well, and better than Multiverse of Madness in my opinion. And then better than that, the last review, I Want to Dance with Somebody in 51. Yes. A good time that goes quite deep into the life of Whitney Houston, with very emotional experiences with songs and a back catalogue utilised incredibly well. So here we go, time for the top 50.
Okay, I just want to kind of getting towards the end, so.
Okay. In 50 we have The Journal for Jordan. I'm going to go quick fire for these next 10 again. We're going to a very, very heartwarming time, though I think was a bit of waste of potential, but good direction from Denzel Washington. 49, we have Corsage, a very recent review, very recent again, and a great commentary on the difficulties with royalty. Higher than that, we have Michael Bay's Ambulance, which again, I think it was the best utilisation of a recent Christmas present I've ever seen. In this case, a drone.
Wait, you've got a drone?
No. Do you know when I took the piss?
Oh, yeah.
So then you got a drone for Christmas.
Because it's got drone shots.
Drone shots everywhere, yes. Fun utilisation of them though. And here we are, and speaking of Jacqueline de Belfort earlier, in 47 we have Death on the Nile. A great story of Hercule Poirot. Oh my god, I actually said it right. With Kenneth Branagh's portrayal of that particular character. And but the CG across the Nile is just dog shit. I'm sorry, it is honestly, some of those shots...
It's not location.
Some of those shots are honestly, I think some of it must be, but some of those shots where it's like a tracking shot around the boat, I get it might have been made in lockdown, I get it. I genuinely get it, I know that it was held with a Fox turnover. But my god, some of the shots...
Did the water just not look real?
No, it's not that, it's just the background. Like there's some tracking shots where it's like a massive set of a ship, and the camera, the crane is taking it around. Some people walking on the outside of the deck, and you can see the background is just completely CG. It's just, you can tell, it's just terrible. 46, The Woman King, a visceral African experience of warrior women done right. This is not a Black Panther piss take. This was not. No, it absolutely was not. It was on its own thing. My only major complaint with it would be that it's clearly not historically accurate. It was basically a real life Marvel film. And that's what does make it similar to Black Panther.
It's meant to be based on somewhere, like you say, though.
Oh, it's real. It's real events.
Oh, I didn't know.
This was a real tribe. This is a real tribe.
I honestly didn't know. I thought it was just like a muckabout type.
Yeah. 45. A very difficult film to place based on the fact how it's not a conventional film. Jackass Forever. Yes. This film was, well, what can I say really? I don't think I can say anything other than that it was such a hilarious time.
Oh, it was brilliant.
This was only ranked on based on how funny it actually was, and I think it definitely earns its spot there at 45.
Yeah.
And 44 we have probably the epitome of the strong motherhood themes this year with Joyride, the best film of July in my opinion, which I think I did rank still to this day as the best film of July. And such an emotional time about just that maternal instinct, and just the theme of that coming out with someone that you did with an unlikely duo who were very well cast and have great rapport on screen. 43, Fall, again an exhilarating time that was made something that didn't seem interesting very, very interesting. 42, The Menu, a bombastic performance by Ralph Fiennes, who finds a way to make this film so unexpectedly, stupidly entertaining, and an incredible watch at that, especially with a group of people.
Did it have any problems that I need to know about, because I haven't seen it?
Not particularly, no. I'd say only that the fact that there's just other ones that are better. And what it did, it could have done, it just could have went that extra mile. But the biggest shocking moment, which I didn't specify in my review, but the biggest shocking moment of the year in film this year is when the guy commits suicide. Like, there's literally, I'm not joking, one of the guys, it's like a cult, this chef's kitchen, and one of the guys literally just decides to just shoot himself. And
well, like out of nowhere?
Not like it's built up to it, right? He says a speech about the meal that's about to be served, and then he just shoots himself dead.
Like a random guy?
Yeah, no, like one of the sous chefs.
Oh.
And he does it, right? I'm not joking, we literally jumped back in our chairs and we were like, what the like, we literally, I'm not joking, it was the biggest shocking moment of the entire year. Completely undefeated. Moving on from that, we have X, which was a great horror film that I can't wait for Pearl, which finally gets a UK release next year, and just a great time overall. Top 40, today on the big top 40, we have See How They Run in 40. Saoirse Ronan carries this film for what reason I will not specify. Moving on.
I don't know what reason why.
Moving on from this, probably our biggest contention between the two of us. I do think Wakanda Forever is the better film than See How They Run.
Honestly, if you
and by the way as well, the best Marvel film of the year, I do think it is the best Marvel film of the year. Undefeated, I do think it is the best Marvel film of the year.
I think the stupidest decision we made was putting Dominion so high. I think the second stupidest was they need to be swapped around. And put Wakanda Forever there, and then boom, we're happy.
A great one on Morning and on whatnot, but yeah, I do think this is the best. Okay, in 38, we now have Jordan Peele's Nope, which again, there's three of these you've seen in a row. There's Nope was a very good cinematic experience.
Oh yeah,
that was probably the most visceral sequences of the year. Was Gordy's.
Yeah.
We were just absolutely sitting there enraptured by what was going on.
Without a doubt, that was the best part of the film.
It was, but the thing is, that's what dragged it down. It was too vague. We didn't know why those sequences were there.
No, I actually liked it more because we read theories online afterwards as to why it was there.
I know, that's the thing. Again, that's homework. I appreciate the film more after I did my homework, but in fair play, it made me want to do the homework when I came out of it, but. It wasn't spelled out as clearly, and I don't really like that in a film. I wish that it explained, even if it was just a throwaway line of dialogue, they explained the significance. because the whole idea in the end was how the producers tried to control Gordy and tried to control nature, the same way how that child in the future tried to control the monster as part of an act. And if that connection had been made more strongly, I think that would have been a great parallel, and probably, arguably, maybe even his best film, if that was driven home better. But a great Western angle in the third act, and overall a great time. Building upon from Men earlier in the rankings, we have 37, we have Watcher. Great sort of harkening way back to the old Halloween films with great stalker cinematography, and with the guy out of focus in the background, and the shop sequence is still incredibly tantalising to this day. 36, we have Ethan Hawke in The Black Phone, a very solid performance, almost an homage to It a few years ago, and a great real life adaptation of that. 35, Elvis, as I literally said in the previous review of this division, that I do think it bests I Want to Dance with Somebody as a musical artist biopic. Decision to Leave, a great foreign language film that is has fantastic character development, that we really honed in on who these two people are and their relationship together, and we buy it. 33, Roald Dahl's Matilda the Musical, a fantastic time at the movies for a musical, and the best musical of the year, I would say.
Was it changed very differently from the original, can I ask, or was it?
Oh yes, because it's more about the West End musical than the 90s film.
Right, okay,
it's definitely a different version of that. But again, I said I had a bit of an identity crisis, which dragged it down a bit.
Because I'll never see Stephen Graham the same way.
But again, maybe it's not now looking at it, but one of the best popcorn films of the year coming in at 32 is Violent Night. Whoa. You were sick on someone, obviously. We're moving on. That's
I told them that.
31. We have Dog, a surprisingly brilliant and emotional film in the end. Maybe a rewatch would have probably dragged it down a few places, but I have such fond memories of it. And now we have the top 30. The best animated film of the year, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. This film did everything that the Disney version on Disney Plus this year could not, and I commend it so much for doing that. I've already said enough in that review, so I might as well move on. 29, we have Belfast. Again, it's dropped quite a few places, but a very, very strong film by Kenneth Branagh with great emphasis on composition and an emotional look back on the times in Northern Ireland where things were going very, very wrong in earlier decades. 28, we have Amulet, again, a much stronger and more streamlined version of what Nocebo was trying to do, and that was a sort of a commentary on human grief. 27, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, the best I've seen Jessica Chastain in a film. Incredible use of makeup and performance for that matter as well. Andrew Garfield does a great job. 26, this is going to be controversial, Scream 2022. I really, really enjoyed this for how meta it was against the film industry today. I thought it was a hilarious time. 25, Cyrano, a Shakespearean-like epic that I love to pieces, with so much heartbreak in Peter Dinklage's performance that makes the film so much more elevated and relatable to everybody than anyone could expect. 24, James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water. The experience helped this massively, but I have to in the end judge it based on a film. And I think for what it is, for how long it is, there's so much good stuff in there.
Yeah.
I think it does warrant its place, but it does, I've told you, in terms of even in the action sequences, it does drag in places. And I think because of that, I think in that it does slip a little bit, but it's a good coming of age story for Jigsaw and his kids as well.
Yeah.
So it's it does warrant its place there. But this was a bit of a tussle. Crimes of the Future I do prefer, and its commentary on human evolution was stronger than James Cameron's environmental message. I do think that was executed incredibly well. This one I put better than both of them, and I'm surprised that I did. But The Northman in 22, a very, very strong film on themes, a very thematic story about what it means to be a man and dying in battle and expectation on oneself.
Yeah.
That in itself, and just again the whole plot around him just hiding on the farm, not knowing the owner, not knowing that he was the guy that wanted revenge on him the whole time for what he did when he was younger. that entire plot it's been tried and tested, but it was executed in such a way that it was just flawless. Mr. Malcolm's List is definitely a guilty pleasure of mine in 21. A film that I think does not outstay its welcome. It's short, it's snappy, and it gets to the point, with very charming characters and a very charming plot. And we arrive at the top 20 with Operation Mincemeat, a very sort of powerful story of the secret war, as it's deemed in the film, I think, or the hidden war, of what happens behind the scenes, behind the front lines, of the people working very, very hard to make sure that the country is safe and that they're in the best position possible. And those people, of course, to be commended, but this film is an homage to them. 19, I think probably, if I'm checking now with this last phone's worth, I think, yes, it is the best popcorn film of the year. Coming in at number 19, Bullet Train. I honestly love this. I know me saying B-Tech makes it sound really bad. It's a B-Tech Guy Ritchie film. And because of that, I loved it. But to say that, Guy Ritchie didn't bring out a film this year. He didn't. So, he didn't bring out a film this year. So, I imagine it would have been higher if he had. But I feel like Guy Ritchie possibly made this. It does feel like very much that kind of vibe to it. Its editing is very much like a Guy Ritchie film. It's writing also as well, especially between the dynamics between Lemon and Tangerine. 18, Peter will disagree with me on this one for being this low. Everything Everywhere All at Once. Probably the strongest message in a film on life itself I've seen in years. But again, it's very abstract and weird execution.
Yeah.
Some people will love this film, and that's why it ranks so highly in the top 20, but it just doesn't do it for me in comparison to some of these other films do. We have The Duke in number 17, working class elderly couple who are played brilliantly by Helen Mirren and Jim Broadbent, and a very charming film overall. 16, Emancipation, a recent review of mine, a visceral experience of what it was like to be a slave at that time, played splendidly by Will Smith after, you know, what happened at the Oscars. His comeback film was incredibly well handled by Apple, and I was very impressed by Apple for their execution of it. We have Triangle of Sadness in number 15.
Yeah, I can talk about this one as well.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. I don't really know what to say. This might actually beat out Confess Flesh. This might actually be the funniest film of the year. It is.
I swear me and you had, like, because obviously we went in different screenings. I swear we had like very different audiences, because apparently yours was like dying.
Oh yeah, mine were crying. Like Jamie, we were loving it.
Apparently his were bursting out laughing all the time. Mine, like, I swear I was the only person laughing in my screen at the funny bit. I was the one person who loved it.
And the way how we were laughing so hard at just these hyper wealthy people is just it's brilliantly. It's how humour plays into commentary. It's the best application of that this year. 14, Barbarian, not much to say. Its first 45 minutes completely make it what it is.
A
masterclass in horror filmmaking. He's seen it as well. 13, Top Gun Maverick. I've moved this around a little bit, but yes, I do think it is the better film than Barbarian. The best blockbuster of this year. I honestly don't like, for blockbuster filmmaking, I think it's just perfect. It's honestly such a good, this is how you do nostalgia in the modern age. 12, we have The Batman, an incredibly strong comic book film, and yes, just checking now, yes, the best comic book film of the year in my opinion, in the superhero genre. I think there's absolutely no question about it. That Riddler scene alone would make it the best scene, how powerful it is.
I haven't seen it, so don't spoil it. I mean, there's only what, like 3 or 4 comic book types films that came out this year. So
like 6 or 7. 6 or 7, I don't know. The Incredible Life of Louis Wayne is an incredible character piece, and I think in terms of character study, is one of the best this year.
Yeah.
And you learn to really love this character, and especially considering I think it was my second film of this year. The fact that I still remember it so fondly is incredible. The fact that I still remember it as fondly as I do.
What was the first this year you've seen?
I don't know. I think it might have been the 355. I think the 355 might have been my first one.
Oh, right.
It might have been this, you know. No, it might have actually been. This might have been my first film. I'll have no way to check that because I don't have records of tickets that far back. But I think it definitely was. It was definitely my first 3 films of the year. This one. So the fact I remember it so fondly is great. But I definitely recommend you all pick it out. This is how abstract filmmaking in some sequences is done, right?
Yeah.
So now we are an hour and 2 minutes. Obviously, it won't be in the time you're watching this video when I edit it down a tiny little bit. But yeah, we are now an hour and 2 minutes into the recording, and we are finally into the top 10. The top 10. Here we go. Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery, coming in at number 10. I've rewatched this twice since it dropped on Netflix in the last few days. Yes, and I love this film. I love it so much. I literally said when the credits started to roll, that is how you do a murder mystery. That is how you do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be saying that.
That there. My God, and Benoit Blanc, right? He's going to be a classic. He's going to be an absolute classic. There's no. I want Ryan Johnson and him to make films till the end of time, and there's not really much I can say. I'm just geeking out about it. There's really, honestly, it is. If you want a murder mystery, I reckon basically until the next one comes out, I think this is your go-to film. And I do think now, having seen them,
as he said, there's going to be a third one.
Yes, it's guaranteed. I think now, having seen them, I think this is the better film than the original. Really? I think it does beat the original. I do. And this is better than the original Knives Out.
Actually, yeah, now that I think back to the original, I think it might be just because of more twists and stuff like that than the original. So
yeah. And the bigger budget as well helps that and all.
Yeah.
Number 9, Nitram, a Jokerish story about someone's decline to the cause of a massacre, basically. And it's the fact how you just feel for that character. This might actually be, this might actually be the best character study of the year.
Really?
It is, and there's ones that are character study based that are higher than this, but honestly, an individual, and even more than Father Stew later up on this list, I think as an individual character, the best character study. Right. Well, I at least related to him so much, and it is so heartbreaking to watch the decline. And when he has these violent outbursts and tantrums, well, maybe not violent, but tantrums, you understand where he's coming from and you really feel for him. And this is a true story as well, what actually happened. So, when you see it end the way it does, very open-ended, when you see it end the way it does, you understand how it got to this point, and it's emotional to see. An incredibly strong film. I don't know how many times I've said that word today. Number 8, Nightmare Alley. Guillermo del Toro's better film of this year, in my opinion, because he's released 2. It's honestly, it is an experience, and I can still remember coming out of it. It's the best use of circular narrative this year, and it is such. It's not even circular narrative. It's not. It feels like one, and there's not really much I can say because it's vague in my memory still. But the reason why it is still this high is just because how I felt when I came out. I felt like it was it felt like a masterclass in filmmaking, and the performances are fantastic as well.
Right.
So we'll move on that note, and I definitely need a rewatch with this one. Number 7, The Forgiven. I've said it in my initial review back in September. The best, one of, if not the best uses of character again. Not as good as Nitram, but it's just the use of guilt, human guilt. And I think, honestly, when I think about it, you know what? Yeah, I think Ralph Fiennes provides in this film the best performance of the year.
Like overall best performance?
I might be wrong on that, because there might be some previous films down the list where the performances were stellar, but the film itself wasn't too great.
Right.
But in terms of these top area film, I think he does have one of the best performances.
Right.
And that is the new note I can add to this, taken away from my initial review. Number 6, we have The Phantom of the Opera. I gave this as a Christmas present to somebody. This film, it's just British film 101. It's heartwarming in its execution. It's low budget and seems independent. It's just it's a family film. It's the best family film in my opinion of the year.
Right.
It is so funny, so hilariously, and the character, it's unintentionally funny. It's the same way as Ralph Fiennes was, speaking of the devil, in The Menu. He's such an unintentionally hilarious character, and so sweet and so kind. And I think it is Mark Rylance's performance that saves this thing, genuinely. Well, I don't even mean save it, just it elevates it to a completely whole other level. Without Mark Rylance, this film would not be what it is. And apparently, I believe he's an Academy Award winner. Completely. I completely understand why he is after seeing it. 5, Vengeance. This has dropped 1 place from the review spot I had it in before last night when I went over this one last time. And it's mainly because the film itself is fantastic film. A fantastic film. But it is the third act that I was absolutely blown away by. And that's what made it so high as it was. Now that I realise that it relies so much on the third act, the same way Barbarian relies so much on its first. And one particular scene, which, you know what, might actually be my favourite scene of the year, on top of one from Don't Worry Darling, which they're doing the same with Chris Pine.
Right.
It might actually be my favourite scene of the year now. It's not enough to put it in that 4th spot, but it still earns its place in the top 5 as the top 5 begins. So number 5 is Vengeance. Up 1 place from my rankings before last night. In number 4, The Banshees of Inisherin.
What made this go higher?
What made this go higher? I think just that it was mainly Vengeance going down rather than this going up.
Like,
it
was compare them?
Yeah, and I think just the simplicity of it. It was not a hard film to execute.
No.
It was just executed to perfection.
Yeah, because do you remember I said it just goes to show you don't have to have a complex plot to make a
Of course not. It was about just 2 friends falling out.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way in which that was handled is, again, that's another recent review, so I'm not going to go too much into this.
Yeah, and it was good to see, because I've got In Bruges now, so I'll show you that at some point.
Yeah,
I need to show you that, because that's the only other film Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson have done together, and it's brilliant in Bruges as well. It's very much like that, so I'll have to show you that as well, so you can compare.
I think it might even be the same director. I think it might be a partnership.
Might actually be as well.
Like a trinity, like a partnership.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, that's fantastic. Still, back in May, what I consider the best film of the year, to be beaten out by 2 more in the later stages in the autumn term, is Father Stew. Still a character study based film, but not as good as Nick Ramforth's character study. It's more of its story. Its story is what takes it higher. It's the emotion in said story. Nick Ram could possibly be higher, arguably, but it's just the way in which that character, and it's the likability. It's the same way that Phantom of the Open succeeded. And again, it is the best performance I've ever seen Mark Wahlberg in, ever. It is my favourite performance of Mark Wahlberg ever. I've never seen him in something this good. And yes, you could possibly cast him in somebody else, but that's exactly the point.
Cough, Nathan Drake.
No, I'm saying you could have cast someone else in this role.
Sorry,
all I'm saying is, but fair point. You could have cast somebody else, but it's just that, like,
his character, like how he
you
looks.
could have cast somebody else, but yeah, they gave it to Wahlberg. He's made it. The role just does it for him. He's made the best role of his career, in my opinion, and the role does it for him. I think you could have easily cast somebody else, but it's so good to see him shine.
Yeah.
Number 2, still number 2, and I debated over this quite heavily.
Between number 1 and 2, are you debating it?
Yeah, Living. And I think I still stand by what I said in my initial review, that this thing is how upsetting this can be, and how good its analysis is on aging and time is running out. It's this and a love song. Now that I'm looking back on this whole list, it's this and a love song that marry mostly with the film we made. You put them both together. This is everything that a love song didn't go there with, that this one did. It's just a guy going on a journey, knowing he doesn't have much time left. But with the difference with ours, you know, they don't know this yet, but the difference with ours is that it's more choice based.
Yeah.
This guy, he genuinely doesn't have long left. He doesn't have long left, and it's honestly the way in which it's done. Bill Nighy again, best performance that I've seen him in again.
Is he the main character?
Yeah, the main character, right. And even now, speaking about in spoiler terms, even after he dies, even after that, it's the sequences. Well, yeah, the whole point is he hasn't got much time left.
Oh, no, I thought it was.
So when he dies, the sequences in the ending, a long chunk of the film, even after he dies, looking back on the ending stage of his life, it has a weird pacing shift towards the end. And even then, it's almost like the hammer gets drawn back a little bit and you're like, okay film, what are you doing? There's not much long left of this. And it's just so that when the hammer wellies you at the end, it hits you even harder than what you expected. It's on this momentum trip, this whole film, that you expected to end on this emotional high, and it decides to reel the hammer back even more so at the last minute and then come back down. It has a weird pacing shift, but it pays off because of that. And I don't need this for this.
We have the best film of the year.
In my opinion, I get bullied for it still, that I believe this is still, and it's purely down to the competence of which it's made.
Yeah, my dad gave us a disgusting.
And now I do feel that third act monologue with Ashton Kutcher in Vengeance is now the best scene. I've now reflecting on it. I still think Don't Worry Darling is the highlight of 2022, and what will officially always now be known, for better or worse, as the top film on the Mayster rankings of 2022. This film, honestly, I don't really know what else to say. It is honestly how well made I think this is. The twists and turns, and how maybe you can call us dumb on that particular day. But I just
dumb all the time, that's fine.
I know, but I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it, the plot twist, until the end. And when I did, it was the biggest realization. I thought it was so well executed. And what else have I got to say? I ranted enough about it in my initial review. I'm just repeating old ground. The only thing new to say is that I don't think that Chris Pine scene is now on the table. The dinner table is now the best scene of the year. I think it's Vengeance, that one in Vengeance. But overall, the package of this film, and the sequence as well, the Harry Styles dancing sequence, like in the massive theatre or whatever, that sequence intercut with her crying in the bathroom. That was the editing and the atmosphere in that sequence. It's just so well done. The only downside, as I'm sure everyone is saying, is Harry Styles isn't exactly a stellar performer. Of course he's not. Of course he's not. It's actually in some places, yes, very bad. But that is the only thing that drags this thing down, in my opinion. The only thing that drags it down.
So wait, so you think there's like no film this year that had like absolutely no problems whatsoever?
No. You don't find a film, Dan, very rarely, that is absolutely perfect in every way.
Yeah.
You just think about it. It's also about your mood on the day, your experience when you come out, and how you felt. And I walked out with that thinking, you know what? I think I've had the best experience of the year there.
Right.
And that's just what I felt on the day. So if you don't like that,
well,
suck it. I'm just telling them, if you don't like that, suck it. I love Don't Worry Darling. Simple as. And if that's what it took to get the film made, all the behind the scenes drama, then so be it. Right? I loved that film, the finished product. I respect you, Olivia Wilde. And I think it's great as well that it's a female director who's made my favourite film of the year. Obviously that's nothing in particular specific, but I'm just saying I think that's great for female directors, that my favourite film out of 118 was directed by a woman.
Yeah, why are you saying it to me? I'm not a sexist. I'm not a sexist. I don't have a problem
No, I'm not. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying I think it's so good because I think they get a bad rap at the minute. Like, I think they used a lot, especially in big projects for Marvel. Even they get used a lot of scapegoats.
Cough, She-Hulk.
You know, like scapegoats is the reason. Like, why? No, that was the writing. That was the writing. That was the writing.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? They get used as a scapegoat and, oh, this is shit because of that. You know what I mean? And they get used as a scapegoat. That I'm really happy that I'm in a position where I can honestly say that my favourite film of the year was directed by a woman through and through. And it wasn't flashed in the media or the marketing. It was just upfront as it is. I'm Olivia Wilde. I directed Booksmart. Here is a film. You know what I mean? Like this, I love that. I absolutely love it. And honestly, I respect her so much as a filmmaker now, because this is the first thing I've seen her in as well. I haven't seen Booksmart.
I didn't really know her name before you told us about
yeah, but she's a great filmmaker, honestly, and I will probably check her out now. So that are we happy with all those rankings there?
I mean, I'm still not happy with drafting.
Yeah, and I know there's something you aren't locked with, but I'm gonna now call those locked. So that is it. It's done. It's like X Factor. The votes are now closed. That is it. It's all locked in. That is 118 films of 2022. And in terms of the Mayster rankings of 2023, we'll see you next year for them. So that is it. It's been one hell of a division with probably the most entries out of any division there has been. But that is it for Mayster Reviews in BWM Chapter 1. with 118 films that have been covered and everything in the past in cinema leading up to this point. If you'd like us to go into other things like maybe music, even gaming maybe, and of course streaming, if you want us to go into that territory with Mayster reviews going forward, Dan will be an enormous part of this division going forward. But if you want me to cover that kind of stuff, just let me know.
Viewership drops to 0 when you say I'm not in good things.
But yes, that's in fact actually I think it'll be elevated. Anyway, this new top of mine, I want to draw attention to it now. This is going to go full circle from the start of chapter 1. You'll see it a couple of times going forward for the rest of the chapter. I polo shirted this thing now. I've just got it for Christmas and I'm chuffed. So yeah, if you've noticed that, yes, that is the Video Learn logo.
And guess what? It's not out of centre for once.
Yes, actually. Smashed it actually, yes. It's bang on. It's actually bang on. So yeah, if one thing went right this chapter, it was the mise en scène. That's yes. Cool. That's great. So we really hope you enjoyed it, and I think without doubt, if I'm being stupid and I'm forgetting about one in particular, I think without doubt I did not expect it to be this way. This is by a mile the longest video of chapter 1. I think it will be. Actually, no. Maybe there's a War Game Warlords one that was. No. Then yeah, I think other ones for Warlords. So yeah, this is the longest video. And even though when I trim this down and edit it about, I hope I've retained your attention for a long period of time. And if you're a film fan, then I also hope you've enjoyed this one. So he's been Big Dan. I've been the Mayster. This has been Mayster Reviews, and we'll see you all in Video Learn Chapter 2. This has been the Mayster Rankings of 2022, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.